Never in my wildest dreams would I think that I would be sitting here filming a book talk. Never thought that would be part of my channel, but here we are. We are going to try something new. So I have got all of my reads from January that I wanted to talk about. And you guys, this is something new for me. I've never sat down and tried to talk about something I have read. It's really hard. Reading comprehension was not something that was my strong point growing up. So this is going to be one of those bear with me. I have written some notes so that I would not forget about each one of the books, because here's the thing, I've read 6 this month and it kind of gets, they start kind of blurring together. So I wrote some notes. Now I have ordered a book review type of planner that I will keep up with from this point on. Once it comes in, I'll fill all this in and I'll even share it with you probably. So I don't know if this is going to be an every month thing or if it's going to be every 2 months. It probably just depends on how many books I have read. So right now I'm in the middle of, I just finished the first book of Colleen Hoover's Hopeless series. I think there's 5 books in the series. So if I can get through all of those and if I can get through more books in February, I will do one at the beginning of March that summarizes all that. It's just kind of depend. So just kind of roll with it. I'm new to explaining books, so this might be a little bit all over the place, so I apologize. So I'm going to go through all of the books in order. I've got 6 here. We're going to talk about them a little bit, tell you what I rated them, and so forth. If you watch my 2023, I don't know what I called it. It was during Vlogmas where I talked about the books. My books for 2023, my top picks and all that. I will link that in a card above. So here's the thing, if you watch that video from Vlogmas, I talked about my favorite books, and there were 36 books that I read in 2023. And this does relate, I promise. I'm a numbers person, my husband is a numbers person, Kate is a numbers person, and 36 was a good number. I started reading another book at the end after filming that video, and I was going to be finished with it before 2024, and I put it to the side. Like, I was to the epilogue. And that's the first book I'm going to talk about, and I stopped reading it because I'm like, 37 is not, so sorry, my husband is not here. I'm supposed to be at a volleyball tournament this weekend, but Derek got the flu this last week, so I had to stay home with him, and my husband has Kate at the volleyball tournament, so he's kind of catching up with me on some things, so I apologize if you hear the phone go off. So I stopped reading Archer's Voice at the epilogue because I did not want to have to include this book since I had already shared everything, and I didn't want to end at 37. So I put this to the side and did not read the epilogue until January 1st. And then I did the same thing for this book here. I knew I was going to finish it before 2024, so I stopped reading it until 2024. So that's why it appeared I read 2 books super fast, because I stopped to make sure they were 2024 reads and not 2023. I know that sounds kind of weird, I'm sure, but it worked. So my first read of 2024 was Archer's Voice. This has sat on my shelf since probably the summer of 2023, and I didn't read it immediately when I got it because I kept seeing all types of mixed reviews about it. And I would read the back and I'm like, I mean, people either loved it or hated it, I felt like. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just not going to read it. And then at the end of 2023, I kept seeing all of these, you know, top books from the year, and it kept getting included on everybody's list. I thought, okay, it's time to read it. So during Christmas break, I picked the book up, and you guys, I had it finished in like 2 days. So when I got to the epilogue, I stopped. So it would be my first book of 2024. I read this so fast. I sat and I think read continuously until I finished it. I had to know how the book ended. So it is a very fast read. It is, how many pages is it? It's 377 pages. And here's the thing. It's got pretty big text. I will tell you, one of my biggest turn-offs on a book is if I get the book and the text is super small. I'm like, nope, I'm not reading that. So I can't tell you how many books I have up here that lots of people like, but I just can't put myself in the position to read them yet because the text is so small. It's just intimidating, I guess. So the story is about Bree Prescott leaving the town she was living in because of a situation that happened that she just needed to escape. She needed to leave the life that she was living and completely start over. So she finds herself in this lakeside town in Maine. She gets a job, and she really doesn't know how long she's going to be there, what type of story. She doesn't know anything. So she just escapes, gets a job, and then just lets life happen. And then she ends up running into Archer. Archer is a very isolated person. He lives in this house by himself. Nobody in town associates with him. So he's literally lived a life of isolation. And then somehow, not going to give you all the details, somehow they come together and they start forming this friendship. And you learn that this story is about two damaged people that come together, try to make it, and find love. I don't want to tell any more of the details of the story because it'll give it away. Many twists and turns in the story. You think you know what's going on, and then you have a twist and something else gets included. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars, and it's one of those I wish I could read again for the first time. So highly recommend this one. So the second book that I read for 2024 was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This was one of my book of the month picks, I think, for November. I have been with that service since October. I'm really liking it. The fact that this is a hardcover book. All of their books are hardcover, and I can get them a lot cheaper than the hardcovers from Amazon or Target or anywhere else. I'm really liking the service. So I will be doing a book haul for my February box that should be here this next week on Instagram and TikTok, so look for that. So I went into this, I'd seen so many people talking about this book at the end of 2023. So this actually is up. I don't know if it got selected or not. It was actually up for Book of the Year for Book of the Month. And I don't even know what to even think about this book. I gave this book 4 stars. And the reason why is because, like, I want you to read it. I highly recommend this book. But I finished it and I, like, sat there with my mouth open, like, because the title is true. None of this is true. I left the book not knowing what was true and what was not true. And after I read it, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, after I read it, I went on Goodreads, and I do have a Goodreads account now, so I will link that in the description below. I went on several different websites, and I was like, okay, good. I'm not the only one. I'm so confused. I don't know what was true or not. So this was a very fast read. It was a psychological thriller to the point of I did not know. I don't know. I still don't know. I still don't know. So this book is about 2 women meeting on their 45th birthday. So they're in a restaurant. All of a sudden they bump into each other, Alex and Josie, on their 45th birthday. They're not together, but they both realize it's their birthday. And it's a neat thing. Then somehow they run into each other again. Alex has a podcast, and Josie thinks she would be a great subject for her podcast. So she talks Alex into making her the subject of her next podcast series. And the story goes from there. Josie is telling her that she's going to have this big change in her life, and she would love for her to document it. So Josie is a very complicated individual, and Alex is a little bit intimidated by her, but somehow intrigued by the story that she's telling her. And the story unfolds from there. So somehow Josie ends up living in Alex's home, and all of these events happen, and there's twists and there's turns, and by the end you're like, I have so many questions. So definitely read it. It's a roller coaster ride the entire way through. So definitely read it. I can't really say any details about it because I don't want to give the story away. Highly recommend it. I want you to read it, and I want you to tell me what you think. So for my next book, this was another book that I kept seeing on everybody's favorites for 2023, and that is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This was another fast read, but I gave this 4.5 stars, and the reason why I gave it 4.5 stars is because it left me very unsettled. This is a very dark book. A murder happens. You have to figure out who was the murderer. We have cheating going on. Who's doing the murdering? Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? And by the end, I'm telling you, this is another book that I was like, it left me so disturbed by the end that is why I rated it 4.5. Very fast read, kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time, but at the end I was like, I cannot believe that happened in this book. So definitely, if you like psychological thrillers, definitely read it. But just know that it could leave you with a very unsettling feeling at the end after you know exactly what happened all the way to the very end. And you have to read the epilogue. You have to read everything. The twists are very like, oh my gosh, and very unsettling. But definitely, if you like psychological thrillers, definitely read this one because it had me on the edge of my seat and it was a very fast read for me. This was my January book of the month pick, The Fury. Now, I will tell you, this is by Alex. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. So, I will tell you that his book for 2023, The Silent Patient, everybody loved it. And I kept thinking, why did I not love that book as much as other people did? And I got bored in the book in the middle, and I was like, maybe I need to reread it. Now, I think I even mentioned this during my Vlogmas video. I was like, maybe I need to reread it because I lost interest. It was so much in the middle that I kind of lost interest, and the twist at the end didn't catch me like it did for some people. So when he came out with The Fury that was one of the books for January, this is the one that I wanted to read. I thought, okay, since everybody loved his other book, let me try this one. And I will tell you, I did not like it. I gave this 2.5 stars. It centers around a group of friends that go on this weekend getaway. A murder happens. You have to figure out who murdered who, what's going on. And I just felt like the narrator was all over the place. So it's told in a narrator's point of view and very choppy, very all over the place. And by the end, I was still confused. And I'm like, I remember closing the book going, what in the crap did I just read? Why did I read that? Because I felt like it wasn't a fluid story. It was all over the place. It was very choppy, and I did not like this. So the narrator will tell you a story, and so he's building you up, and then the next chapter he will go, oh, nope, I'm kidding, that wasn't true. And he does it over and over again. So by the end, you're like, well, what in the crap was right? Did he tell me the truth the whole time? He's told me all these stories, and then he comes back and says they're not true. So the whole time I'm trying to grasp on the fact that what is true and what's not true. So by the end, I'm still confused, and I'm like, he's told me so many stories, I don't know which one to believe. So I gave this one 2.5 stars. I just was not a fan. So my next book was The Bodyguard by Kristin Morgan. So I used one of my add-ons for January for Book of the Month to get this book. So the way that Book of the Month works is they will come out with 5 different books that you can choose as your main book, and then you can do add-ons. So this was one of my add-ons for January. So I got The Fury was my main book because this was one of the picks for January. And then I added this one as one of my add-ons. So I had seen Kristin Morgan's books all over Instagram and YouTube, and I'd never read one of her books, so I decided to pick this one up first, The Bodyguard. And I had no idea, no expectations, did not know what to think, but I rated this 5 stars. It was such a sweet story. So when I first got this, I thought, oh, from the cover, he is her bodyguard. Not right. So Hannah, who is the main character, she works in the Executive Protection Agency. I did not know I did not know the word, so I had to look it up here, which they call the Bodyguard. So she works for this agency that basically works as bodyguards for different people. So they get different assignments, and she got the assignment to be the bodyguard for Jack. Jack was a famous actor, and he had stepped away from it, and he was coming back to his hometown because his mother had been diagnosed with cancer. But he had this stalker. So his agent, I think it was, his agent hired Hannah, or her company, to watch after him and to protect him while he was home with his mother for cancer. But he did not want to tell his parents that he had a stalker. And he didn't really want a bodyguard either, but his agent was the one that hired the bodyguard. So she has to go in, and instead of acting like a bodyguard, has to act like his girlfriend, so that his parents do not know that he has protection and that about the stalker. So it is about their relationship and how it evolves from there, and it is such a sweet story. There's not any smut in this, so it is definitely one, if you're not for the smut, this is a great read. So this was such a sweet story, and I was smiling by the end of this book. I loved it so much, and I loved it so much that for February's book of the month, I got 5 books, and 2 of them are from Catherine Center. So I wanted to read more by her. So I got Hello Stranger and, oh, I can't remember the other one. So I will share all of that in that Instagram and TikTok video for you. But love this, no smut, sweet story, fast read. Highly recommend it. It will put a smile on your face. 5 stars for me. And then the last book that I read for January was a Frida McFadden book. So I have read several Frida McFadden books for 2023. I read Never Lie, Locked Door, The Housemaid, which I was not a fan of The Housemaid like lots of other people were. The Inmate was my favorite that I read from hers. I want to say I read 4 or 5 of her books, but The Inmate was my favorite. So I decided to pick up another one. So I picked up The Perfect Son. Frida McFadden books are super fast to read. The words are always big on the pages, which I like. This book was This book was 370 pages, and I read it within 2 or 3 days. So here's the thing, I rated this 3.5 stars. And it was because the twist was very predictable to me. So I kind of knew where the story was going. This is a psychological thriller. And I don't want to say too much about the book because I don't want to give the book away. But by the time the twist comes, I already knew where the twist was going. I already knew where the book was going. So I gave it 3.5 stars. So Erica Cass has a perfect family and a perfect life. She's got 2 kids. She's got a son that she thinks can do no wrong, but he's got some issues. She knows he has some issues. And then she has a daughter that's, you know, mouthy and, you know, is not her favorite. So she definitely has a favorite, and that is her son. But she knows her son has issues. And she thinks he's done some things in the past. But she's not real sure about anything. But she thinks that anything he does is perfect, and she wants to protect him. The whole way through the book, she talks about how great he is and how, you know, everything about him is perfect. And then it comes to a situation that happens where a girl vanishes. And it's a girl that he has liked. She knows that he liked. And she's scared that he has done something to her. But she can't say that. So she's trying to figure all of this out. And it's got some twists and it's got some turns, but it's very predictable to me. So it is a good read. I gave it 3.5 stars, but definitely not my favorite Frida McFadden book. So in my opinion, my favorite so far from her is The Inmate. So if there's other books that you think I need to read from her, let me know. So I've read this one, I've read The Housemaid, The Inmate, Never Lie, and Locked Door. So let me know if there's another one you think I should read. So that is all for my first ever book talk. I'm sorry if this has kind of been all over the place. I'm learning. This is going to be a learning process, but I wanted to share these books with you since I read 6 in January. In the comments below, I would love to hear some of your favorite books from this year. Let's get a discussion about that in the comments below. You guys, anytime y'all recommend a book, I immediately go and put it in my Amazon cart and purchase it when I get a nice amount of books. So let's get a conversation going about that in the comments below. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you give this video a big thumbs up. By giving my videos a thumbs up, it shows YouTube you're engaged and you like my content, which means they'll start suggesting it and recommending it to more people, which means our community will grow and will continue to spread positivity. And let me tell you, you guys, y'all have done such a great job. Thank you for doing that. Y'all have made a huge difference, and I'm seeing movement on my channel. So thank you so much. So I hope you'll have a fantastic week, and until next time, bye you guys.